When people say top US investment banks, they usually mean the firms that keep landing the biggest mergers, stock offerings, bond deals, and CEO calls. And once you look at the market that way, the same five names keep showing up. JPMorgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and Citi. The real question is not just who makes the list, but why each bank stays there. The first thing to notice is geographic concentration. Wall Street still works as shorthand because New York remains the center of the client, capital, and advisory network behind top-tier U.S. investment banking. That concentration matters because senior executives, lawyers, investors, and financing desks are still packed into one deal-making ecosystem. So, before ranking any single bank, it helps to see that the whole contest is built on proximity, relationships, and constant access to the market. JP Morgan wins on breadth because it combines advisory, underwriting, lending power, and deep corporate relationships. That balance sheet matters when clients want one bank that can advise, finance, and distribute a deal at scale. It is the easiest bank to put at the top when the ranking is about franchise depth, not just one niche. Goldman remains the prestige benchmark because its advisory franchise still carries outsized influence on marquee deals. The brand is strongest when the conversation turns to M&A, boardroom access, and complex strategic transactions. Goldman often looks smaller than universal banks on raw balance sheet, but larger on pure advisory reputation. Bank of America stands out because it can bring huge corporate bank relationships into the investment bank pipeline. That gives it steady access to issuers, treasurers, and financing mandates beyond the splashiest headline mergers. It is a top-tier franchise because scale and client coverage matter just as much as prestige and banking fees. Charlotte matters in this story because Bank of America's commercial banking footprint does not start and end in Manhattan. A bank can win more investment banking business when it already owns the broader corporate relationship through treasury, lending, and everyday financing. That is one reason scale franchises can keep outrunning pure prestige plays over a full cycle. Morgan Stanley remains a power player where equity capital markets, strategic advice, and institutional relationships overlap. Its reputation stays especially strong in stock offerings and the kind of client set that values distribution plus advisory polish. It is usually in the top group because it keeps showing up on large, visible mandates, even without being the largest bank by assets. Midtown helps explain why Morgan Stanley and Citi still belong in the top-tier conversation. The point is not one street address. The point is that headquarters density, institutional clients, and capital markets infrastructure still reinforce one another in New York. That environment keeps the top banks close to the markets, issuers, and investors they need to serve. Citi's strength is its global corporate network and cross-border reach, especially with multinational issuers and financing flows. That makes it harder to leave out of any serious top bank list, even when the brand gets less retail attention than JP Morgan or Goldman. The key point is not hype, but reach. Citi keeps a seat at the table because global treasury and capital markets clients still need it. There is no single perfect scoreboard here. A bank can look dominant when advisory is booming, then lose ground when debt issuance, equity underwriting, or balance sheet usage becomes the key metric. That is why prestige talk, league tables, and actual client utility do not always point to the same winner. The real takeaway is that the top group stays fairly stable even when the exact order shifts with the market cycle. The cleanest way to think about this list is by asking what job the client needs done. JP Morgan is the all-around breadth leader. Goldman still owns the strongest prestige argument in pure advisory. Bank of America wins through scale and issuer coverage. Morgan Stanley stays elite where equity markets and strategic advice overlap. And Citi keeps its seat through global reach. That is why the same names keep defining the top tier, even when the order keeps moving.